Coach Clay here. I want to revisit my youth and give you 3 players from Major League Baseball back in my day that inspired me and motivated me to put all of my energy and discipline and resources and passion into following the dream of playing college baseball and hopefully one day pro. And I also want to give you those 3 players' modern day equivalents that I think the guys that you coach, the players that are on your teams or your sons and daughters, that these players can help motivate them, inspire them, and these heroes of mine from the past and their modern day equivalents are testament that size sometimes can be overcome, whereas in other sports, it's not so easy. So first is Ozzie Smith, the shortstop from the St. Louis Cardinals. Every highlight was initiated by him running out before the games and doing the back handspring, cartwheel into back handspring. I never got to where I could do that, but I understood that Ozzie Smith was much smaller than his peers, and he was not gonna make his worth with his bat, but instead with his defensive prowess, his hands, his speed, his anticipation. And so for me, being an undersized athlete, not knowing if I would ever be the size of some of these pros that I looked up to, one in particular being Dale Murphy, that I knew that if Ozzie Smith could make it, I could train those parts of my game and perhaps one day make it. Then I found another shortstop, Omar Vizquel. He was so good with his glove, he didn't need a ton of arm strength. And again, his bat was not his weapon. He would switch hit to capitalize on his ability to make contact and do the small things to help his team win. And these were things that I knew with practice that I could accomplish in my own game. So I looked at Omar Vizquel as, again, Ozzie Smith, these shortstops that really undersized, just like I was, dealing with being the smallest player on the field, and that I could overcome that lack of size and still be one of the best players on the field because of my defensive prowess. Now, if I was ever in doubt that I could make these dreams of getting to college, playing professionally, and one day maybe playing Major League Baseball, if doubt crept into my mind because I wasn't growing, I was late to puberty, all these other guys were much bigger, stronger, faster than me, I found the one guy that gave me belief, and that was Rafael Belliard. I was a huge Braves fan growing up, watched a ton of Braves on TBS, and when Rafael Belliard came onto the scene, he basically threw away every excuse I had not to continue pursuing baseball. If I loved it, if I gained some confidence out of it, if I loved the competition, Rafael Belliard, at about 5'6", 130 pounds, took away all my excuses of being too small. I knew that I could get near perfect with my glove. I could use my feet and my baseball IQ to put myself in positions to make up for my lack of physical abilities. Show your players some of the highlights from these guys, how small they were, how they played at the highest level for decades, and were all-stars in a lot of cases. And I know that sometimes watching old videos aren't today's youngsters' cup of tea. So they need modern equivalents. Well, we've got plenty of them, and there's 3 in particular that have really impressed me as I've watched the game over the last couple years. The first, everybody knows him, Jose Altuve. Now, he plays for the Astros, so there's a black mark right there in my opinion, but the guy's phenomenal. He's 5'6", 5'7", still managed to get a lot of strength in that small frame, quick hands, and he is one of the best hitters around, and he has been clutch. We're not gonna all be 6'1", 6'2", 205. And some of us are gonna be in frames, right? 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", but baseball is that one sport that even though it might make it a little bit harder, being undersized and weighing less, you can still succeed. That leads me to my next one, Ozzie Albies. Now, Ozzie is a Brave, so I've been a lifelong Braves fan. Despite playing for the Padres organization in my pro days, I've drifted back to supporting the Braves. And Ozzie, man, undersized, doesn't look perfect in everything he does, but he gets the job done. And that kind of player gives me a lot of motivation, and I share it with some of the players I coach that I know are going to be smaller. This guy's making it work. train your speed, train your glove, make contact with any pitcher and any pitch they throw out up there, and you can succeed. And lastly, probably I think might be one of the smallest guys in the MLB is Tony Kemp. Just getting it done with one of the smallest statures out there. And I would guess that most of the players I'm coaching right now, I coach a 9U team. I work with players from 4-year-old all the way up through college. My players are going to get to that height. And with some work and some passion and some discipline, they can develop their strength. They can maximize their speed. And looking at Tony Kemp, looking at what he's able to do in the major leagues, how he's able to impact a game at the highest level, should give all of our players hope that if they want to compete and they want to take a sport and pursue it and play it as long as their potential will allow them, as long as their hard work will allow them, baseball is the place to be. Basketball, football, size is ultimately going to hold you down. 1 in a million spud webs out there. But when we can find a handful of good, solid, impactful players, all-stars even, on major league rosters throughout the years. I've given you 3 from the 80s and 90s. I've given you 3 current. There's plenty more in the middle of that. If you know of one that I'm missing, put it in the comments and let's sort of feature these guys that are overcoming a lack of size and strength to perform at the highest level, that can give us all a little motivation and a little hope to help us pursue our dreams and to make our dreams as big as we see fit. I hope you like what I'm giving you. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you wouldn't mind, and hopefully we'll see you down the road.